Hello everyone. In video 1 of my 10 video series, I give a summary of my personal experience as the son of a pastor with the South African broken system, having faced legal witch hunts for the past 26 years orchestrated by corrupt law and church officials. Afriforum's constraint to intervene in the legal witch hunts I'm facing led to my deeper awareness of the malpracticing officials, the corrupt governing bodies, the intimidation of the SA police services, and how they collude in legal witch hunts. This had me questioning my belief as a pastor's son, how God's will and allowable will can provide for deceitful lawyers and delusional pastors who defend and work the abuse of children in hand. This has led to my awareness of the two opposing forces governing our planet, deception and sincerity, creating the three narratives in life. The deceiver who orchestrates life as a sick comedy, the deceived to experience life as a tragedy, and the sincere who have discovered the immensity of what it means to be human, to enjoy the ultimate human experience. These three groups are also known as the takers, the givers, and the creative matchers, or the abusers, the abused, and the truthful free, or the fools, the fooled, and the wise. In my search for a better understanding of the infiltrators of a broken system, who are orchestrating life as a sick comedy, led to my awareness of the sadistic narcissist. Research has shown that children who have grown up with abuse and without childhood joy, not having experienced trust and belonging from parental love, but distrust and rejection instead, can suffer from pathological feelings of inferiority to manifest in delusions of grandeur and sadistic narcissism. In their mimicry of greatness and on their path of wrath, sadistic narcissists are driven by hatred and jealousy to deceive and exploit the empath who are enjoying a meaningful life. Empaths are emotional sponges who can absorb feelings from other people easily, which make them attractive to narcissists for fulfilling their every need in a selfish way. From my research and personal experience, I became aware of the collaboration between the sadistic narcissist as political exploiter who will enforce irrational legislation and regulations to cause the duress, suffering, and conflict among citizens, to be exploited by the sadistic narcissist as law practitioner. It is my hope that this video will create a greater awareness to the naive empath of the questionable moral and ethical standards of many law practitioners who have taken the lawyer's oath that they shall not engage in unlawful, dishonest, immoral, and deceitful conduct, but are practicing the contrary. The core reason for empaths to fall victim to the sadistic narcissist is that they do not possess the neurocircuitry to perceive or identify their cruel and deceitful nature, as they are disguised as the doers of good and strategically positioned where they can abuse power and where one would least expect. It is not surprisingly so, for it is a sadistic narcissist who have created the belief for being called by a deity to lead and protect the people. In a broken system, the sadistic narcissist will initially play God by creating artificial comfort zones for the victims, to follow up in playing the devil by pulling the carpet from underneath their victims. Therefore, legal disputes where parties are fighting for carpet control provide for perfect opportunities to sadistic narcissists who strive on fueling and provoking injustices with the purpose to create duress and coercion, which will lead to confusion and uncertainty to finally incite anxiety. Sadistic narcissists know that long-term anxiety, which rouses stress hormones and regulates genes and diseases, has a neurological effect of disordering a victim's thought processing, to cause uncertainty and indecision, and consequently to blur the vision and narrow their victim's perspective on reality, to prevent them from finding rational ways of conflict solving. Narcissists also know that anxiety can alter the meaning a victim will seek in life and increase the victim's vulnerability to be exploited, to be dragged deeper into the deceitful world of the sadistic narcissist who intend to turn the victim's life into a tragedy. This goes together with gaslighting, where victims are psychologically manipulated through guilt and fear into doubting their own judgment and sanity, leaving the sadistic narcissist with feelings of empowerment. Our alternative lifestyle model explains how the twisting of the fabric of reality by sadistic narcissists through deceit can disturb the mind's interpretation of actual reality, to distort the body's thought translation, and consequently cause the disruption of the victim's career income and the division of the victim's family and social support network. This is done under the pretense of protecting the empath. Many despicable actions are conducted to lure the empath to perform some form of transgression out of total frustration and to eventually break the will of the empath. The objective of the deceiver is to cause the victim to enter into the 5 stages of deceit. The first stage of shock from the awareness of the injustice spikes anxiety to cause the immobility of the victim, which, depending on how severe, could have pathological consequences. The second stage of denial is the mind's method to protect itself against a potential nervous breakdown for its unreadiness to deal with the reality of betrayal or loss. This stage is also exploited by luring the victim to believe that there is a higher purpose which will manifest later. The third stage of anger could either lead to an obsession for revenge if projected towards the source of the injustice, or depression if the anger energy is absorbed by the victim. During this stage, sadistic narcissists would be preaching forgiveness and for the victim to focus on the positive of life. The fourth stage of bargaining is the stage where the sadistic narcissists come to power. This is where they collude with their like-minded counterparts in the broken system, who will attempt to prolong their fool's play with deceitful and irrational actions for as long as the victim naively seeks for rational solutions. This is potentially the costliest for the victim, not only for the time and resources spent while naively seeking for rational solutions, but for the immense cost of opportunity in relationships, joy, and loss of income. The fifth stage of acceptance is when the victim arrives at a deeper level of awareness of the actual reality, in particular of their continual losses, and most importantly, of the deceitful and toxic world of the sadistic narcissist. In this regard, our alternative lifestyle workshops provide guidance to empaths on how to deal differently with the stages of grief in arriving sooner at the acceptance of the actual reality. From my experience, I compared how sadistic narcissists respond when being confronted or exposed, which I call the 5 stages of deceit. Their first stage of shock, when being confronted or exposed for the injustices, have them immediately enter into their second stage of denying any wrongdoing, which often would erupt in an outburst of anger. The third stage is fear of prosecution, which have narcissists accuse and blame their victims and others for the hell their victims are going through. Their fourth stage is collusion, when sadistic narcissists come to power when they collude with their like-minded counterparts in the broken system, who will pretend to help the victim to seek prosecution, while prolonging any action for as long as the victim naively seeks prosecution. This is also the costliest for the victim, not only for the time and resources spent while seeking prosecution, but for the immense cost of opportunity in relationships, joy, and loss of income. Their fifth stage is cowardliness, where the narcissist might commit suicide or have their whistleblower taken out, but would never admit guilt. In part 4 of my 10 video series, Under the Broken System, I give a summary of the deceit and exploitation in family law, the Prescription Act, the lawyer's oath, and collusion to orchestrate witch hunts. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to your engagement in our crusade.